Tyler from Aspire Sports, and let's talk about buy-sell players for Week 2. There's players that a lot of people right now are panicking after Week 1, so you need to go out and try to get these players and other guys that performed really well that I think you should sell. I'll give you all my reasoning. I make new content like this every single day, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, and let's get into the video. First player, Ezekiel Elliott. And I know I just said it, but I want to hammer this home that it's only Week 1. It's only Week 1. 1/17 of the season. I've had people legitimately ask me this question. Should they drop Ezekiel Elliott for Elijah Mitchell? Should they drop Zeke? I've gotten so many questions about, should I drop Zeke? Should I drop Zeke? No. Do not make any rash decisions like that whatsoever. Okay. In fact, you should be trying to trade for Zeke, or if you have Zeke, hold on to Zeke. And the reason being is a lot of people think, oh, Tony Pollard had a better game. He's going to be more involved in this offense going forward. Tony Pollard played 24% of the snaps in Week 1, where Ezekiel Elliott played 84% of the snaps. Zeke was never going to have a good week this week unless he found the end zone, which he was close one time, but he just wasn't going to have a good week. This is the top defense, rushing defense, in the past 2 years. So 2020, they were the best. 2019, they were the best. They averaged the lowest yards per carry, the lowest amount of yards on the season. This was the best rush defense, and it's going to be the best rush defense he's going to face all season. So now is the opportunity to buy low on Zeke, and Zeke is a really polarizing guy where it's kind of either you hate him or you love him, and maybe some people got in the situation where they drafted Zeke and they didn't really want to draft Zeke, but he was the highest player on their rankings, so they drafted him. So go out, try to find those managers that are panicking already and try to get Zeke because he's going to be fine for the rest of the season. So the first player, Ezekiel Elliott. Number 2, Najee Harris. Najee Harris is a player that I've received a lot of questions for as well. A lot of people think that they should drop Najee Harris, and you shouldn't. Don't panic. Just like Ezekiel Elliott, don't panic. Najee Harris is the only running back this past weekend that played on 100% of this team's offensive snaps at the running back position. 100%. Now, I know snaps don't lead to points, but they're going to eventually. This offensive line is not very good right now. It's pretty bad, to be honest with you. I'm a Steelers fan. I watched it. It's not very good right now. There's better days ahead. It's a young offensive line. It's a brand new offensive line. They're going to gel. It's going to need a little bit of time. But next week, they play the Las Vegas Raiders, and really his value is never going to be lower as it is right now. So 100% go out there and try to get Najee. He's going to lead the league in snap percentage, and snaps and opportunities will lead to points. Better days are ahead, so go out and get Najee. The next player, DAndre Swift. And you might think it's a little weird because DAndre Swift had a really good game this past weekend, but people are still too low on DAndre Swift. This is everything that you hoped Austin Ekeler would be. He's Austin Ekeler, but better. And Austin Ekeler is a fine player. Do not try to trade him or anything like that. Keep Austin Ekeler on your team. But DAndre Swift is a phenomenal talent at the running back position, and I don't think a lot of people understand how good he is. If he can stay healthy, he can certainly finish as a top 10 back. This is a guy that I predicted to be a league winner. I'm not trying to take any victory laps, but some people still think that he's not the lead back in this offense because Jamal Williams got to start. He played on 68% of this team's snaps compared to Jamal Williams' 34%. He's the guy in this backfield. He's the guy that you want, and he just saw 11 targets at the running back position. Once again, he's everything that you hope Austin Ekeler would be this season, except just a better football player. Go out and get him while his value is still a little bit low because not everybody's completely sold before it's too late. DAndre Swift, the third player. The next guy, Mike Evans, and he's kind of an obvious one, but a lot of people think that Antonio Brown is the number one on this offense, and I'm here to tell you, no, he's not. He's third, okay? It goes, I would maybe even argue Chris Godwin is actually the alpha wide receiver next to Mike Evans. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin had an over 90% snap percentage this past weekend compared to AB's 64%. Mike Evans saw one less target than Antonio Brown, and he was shadowed. He was shadowed basically the entire game. So why would Tom Brady force the ball into Mike Evans when he's seeing shadow coverage, then get it to the better matchups with Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Rob Gronkowski? Like, he's not going to do that. Next week, he gets Atlanta. Mike Evans gets Atlanta. He's going to ball out. This is your only opportunity to get Mike Evans, While a lot of the people in the fantasy football community this offseason were saying, don't draft Mike Evans, don't draft Mike Evans. So you have everybody listening to those people and thinking the same thing. So they're panicking about Mike Evans now. Go out and get Mike Evans right now. The opportunity will never be better. So Mike Evans, the first wide receiver. The second wide receiver is Elijah Moore, and he's honestly probably going to be cut by a lot of people. Elijah Moore, no, his first week was not very good, but there's some hope here with Elijah Moore. Number one, Zach Wilson really didn't play that well. There's better days ahead for both of these rookies. They're rookies, remember. Like, not every single rookie is going to come in and just ball out. Last year, Justin Jefferson didn't come out and ball out in week one. He really started to ball out as the season went on. So Elijah Moore, there's better days ahead. But one thing that you can definitely look at and say, okay, he's the number 2 in this offense. He played 86% of the snaps in this game. And once again, snaps don't lead to points, but there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to snaps. He saw 4 targets. Yeah, he caught one ball, -3 yards. So it wasn't the best, but better days are ahead for Elijah Moore. And really, he's probably going to get dropped by a lot of managers. So wait for him to clear waivers and just go pick him up because he's going to be fine come the middle of the season. A guy you might have to be a little bit patient on, but a guy that really his values very low right now. A lot of people are probably already giving up on him. So go out. You could probably get him for super cheap right now. Go out and try to get Elijah Moore. Better days are ahead for him. The next player, Mike Gesicki, and this was somebody that I was high on heading into the season. In week 1, it was a dud. I didn't expect this game to be good for Mike Gesicki. He had a really tough matchup against New England Patriots, who last year were giving up these 6 fewest points to the tight end position. So this wasn't going to be a good game for him. One thing that is a little concerning is his 39% snap percentage this past weekend. But really, they have a left tackle, a rookie left tackle. So they probably wanted to get their blocking tight end Smythe involved a little bit more to help out with that matchup for the left tackle and kind of give Tua a little bit more time. So better days are ahead for Mike Gesicki. He honestly could be dropped this upcoming weekend for a favor of like a guy like Juwan Johnson that, caught 3 passes for 21 yards or something and 2 touchdowns. Like, that's not going to happen every single week. So Mike Gesicki is a perfect guy to target. He's uber talented. His snap percentage will go up. They get Will Fuller back next week. This offense is really going to start to take off in much better matchups. So go out and get Mike Gesicki. I bet his value is really low right now. Like I said, some people are probably honestly thinking about dropping him. So go and get him. Mike Gesicki, the last player on the buy list. So let's go over to the sell players. And these are players that I just don't envision their value getting higher. So what I would do is take them and then like another piece and try to get some of the guys that I already talked about on the buy list. A guy like Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, go out and try to get these guys for this guy and somebody else. I think that you can't do it all the time, but some of the time you'll be able to do it depending on the manager. So first player, though, is Melvin Gordon. And Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, it was a split between these two. They each played 33 snaps, but Melvin Gordon had a 70-yard touchdown run. I just envision them. I know he had that 70-yard touchdown run, but I just envision this offense going with Javonte Williams more and more as the season progresses and phasing out Melvin Gordon a little bit. Not completely, but lowering his snap percentage while Javonte Williams gets a higher snap percentage. They invested the capital in Javonte Williams, and he's a really good player. So that's how I envision it. Right now, I just don't envision Melvin Gordon's value ever getting higher. So I would 100% go out and try to sell Melvin Gordon. The next player, Josh Jacobs. And Josh Jacobs didn't have that bad of a fantasy game last night. He scored 16 points depending on the scoring settings of your league. But a guy that last night played on 52% of the snaps compared to Kenyon Drake's 48%. Guy that kind of got banged up a little bit last night. And really a guy that relied on touchdowns to have a fantasy relevant day. Now, of course, touchdowns are part of fantasy football, are part of football, so you can't take those touchdowns away. But if you look at the rest of the stats, 10 carries for 34 yards and 1 catch for 6 yards just isn't going to cut it week to week. And he's just a guy that I see as more touchdown dependent to have really value in the season. So me personally, I would go with somebody else. I would try to trade him for like a Najee Harris. Maybe it'd probably have to be him and someone else, like a wide receiver for a Najee Harris. But I'd much rather do that than have Josh Jacobs on my team right now. And with him having a solid week 1, maybe you can go out and find a team that's desperate for running back. So I would 100% try to trade Josh Jacobs right now. He's the second player. The next guy, Antonio Brown. And this may not be the most popular take because I think a lot of people honestly think Antonio Brown could be the wide receiver 1 for this offense. And I'm here to tell you, no, he's not. And you can clip this at the end of the season if he ends up being it, but I don't think he's going to be it. And I think his value is never going to be higher than it is right now. Although it might be a little bit higher next week against Atlanta. So if you can't work out a trade this week, that's okay, because he might have another good game next week against Atlanta. But right now you have him having a really good game in prime time. On top of that, his name is Antonio Brown. So those two come together, and I think that you could get a really valuable piece for your fantasy football team. Why I don't think he's the wide receiver one for this team is he played 64% of the snaps compared to 98% to Chris Godwin and 93% to Mike Evans. He also saw 7 targets, which was a 14% target share. Mike Evans was 12. Chris Godwin was 30% target share for this offense. So I don't envision Antonio Brown being the wide receiver one. I think he's actually the wide receiver 3 for this offense, and will play like that in the coming weeks. This was his big game, so go out and try to sell him. The next player, Deebo Samuel. And I think Deebo is a solid football player, and especially with the Ayuk situation right now, I think people are panicking about Ayuk, and I would hold on to Ayuk if you have Ayuk. But right now, I think people will probably envision Deebo as the wide receiver 1 for this offense. He had 189 receiving yards in this game. But when you look at it a little bit more, he is a very good guy at yards after the catch. 109 of those 189 receiving yards came after the catch. To put that into perspective, Tyreek Hill had 197 receiving yards this past week. 49 of that 197 yards came after the catch. This is not sustainable. He's not going to get Detroit week 1 or get Detroit every single week, which Detroit is awful defensively. They once again look like they're going to be one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So he's not going to get them every single week. So his receiving total is going to go way, way, way down. So I think this is a great opportunity for you to sell high on him, especially with this Brandon Ayuk situation being kind of weird. So take advantage of that situation and his week 1 performance and sell high. And that does it. If you have any questions about who to buy, who to sell, maybe you have some trade offers right now, ask it down in the comments below. I'll answer any questions you have. Thank you for watching and have a great day.